This episode covers the sensitive and heartbreaking topic of premature infant loss. We understand that this subject can be deeply emotional and may bring up difficult feelings for some listeners. If you have experienced loss or find this topic challenging, we encourage you to listen with care or consider skipping this episode. Please take the necessary steps to prioritise your mental and emotional well-being before proceeding.
This podcast is dedicated to the memory of Jude Harrison, a cherished son and brother. Though his time was brief, his impact is everlasting, and his story and spirit live on through his twin George. This is for Jude.
Please note, the views and experiences shared on this podcast are personal and not intended as medical advice. Always consult with healthcare professionals for guidance specific to your situation.
Welcome to the Premipod, the podcast dedicated to sharing the powerful, inspiring, and often emotional stories of families and healthcare professionals navigating the world of premature birth.
Whether you're a parent, a healthcare worker, or just someone looking to understand the journey, we're here to offer support and insight, one episode at a time.
So tune in as we dive into real experiences and explore the strength of the neonatal community. We're your hosts, Kirsty, Dimity, and Meg. Hello and welcome back to the Premi Pod. We're here with Maddie Lassick.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
It's all right.
Today we're just going to be chatting to you about your two beautiful babies, Jude and George, and kind of how they came about. So can you tell us a little bit about, how you found out you're pregnant?
Yeah.
And what the journey was like getting pregnant and all of that as well.
Yeah.
So the pregnancy actually came as a bit of a surprise. So Damien and I had always talked about having kids one day.
Yep.
I actually, previous to falling pregnant, they were unsure if I would be able to fall pregnant.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
How come?
Just because I'd had like a really irregular cycle and actually ended up having no period at all for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So they were just like a little bit unsure. So that's why it was a surprise.
Yep.
But I found out really early, actually. I was just getting like quite obvious symptoms and I was like, hold on a minute. Did the test and I was like 5 weeks pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
You're so in tune with your body then
Yes.
as well. Like 5 weeks is so early.
yeah, well, there were things that I noticed that I definitely hadn't noticed before.
What did you notice?
Yeah,
Let's just
tell
say
us. That things are tender. So that was definitely like something new for me.
Yeah.
It obviously was a huge surprise. I actually found out when I was at work and I went and did the test during my lunch break. Went back to work and told one of my work friends.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yes,
Oh
because
my God,
I was
before
in
Damien was
so much
excited.
shock. Yeah, luckily she's very good at keeping a secret. And then I went home that night and I actually tried to set up my phone to film Damien's reaction. And he was like, why are you videoing me?
I hate it when they do
Typical.
that.
They always
I
just
will
let
let
it
it
happen.
I was like, I'm not.
The phone's just sitting next to her.
Yeah. And then I actually ended up turning off the video and I actually just burst out crying. And I was like, I'm pregnant.
Oh my God.
And he was like, hold on a second, wait. Let's rewind, couldn't believe it. And so flash forward a little bit, obviously did not know it was going to be a multiple pregnancy.
Yeah. Did you have any feelings or anything? Like, did you
So when I went for my first ultrasound, they show us like the little image and there was kind of like two pictures.
Goodness.
But the lady was like, no, that's just like, that's nothing. That's nothing.
There's two Maddie's looking up there like,
like that is something and I know it.
Yeah. I was like, because
Don't
I
gaslight
don't
me.
know why, but for like a lot of my adult life, we always joked that I'd be the one to end up with twins.
Yeah.
But it
Really?
was just a joke. I
Yeah.
didn't actually think it would happen.
You're manifesting it.
I know. And then, anyway, we went to that scan and the lady was like, it's nothing, like it's just something that shows up sometimes in people's scans.
Was she
I'd
just
never been
saying that,
pregnant
do you
before.
think? Or?
I don't know if she just genuinely was like, because
Okay.
it was smaller, like it didn't quite
Okay.
look like an embryo sort of
Yeah,
thing.
okay.
And then we went a couple more weeks and went to my next scan.
Yep.
And
What about your bloods? Did you get bloods done?
Yeah.
Like the
And were the
HCG
HCGs
levels?
really
No,
high?
there
or
was
were-
nothing that was like
obvious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not to the doctor anyway.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when we went for my next ultrasound, they were like, or the lady was doing the ultrasound and she's like, so you got 2.
Oh my gosh.
And you're like, oh, I
Were
knew
you
it.
both there?
Damien and I just were like, we just burst out laughing. I'm like, of course. You've got to be kidding me. Like,
Oh my God.
yeah, and we were just, we were so excited. Before we actually found out we were having twins, we had talked about like we were so excited about being pregnant, but we just felt like something was just a little bit amiss. Like something just felt like something was missing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
And when we found out we were having twins, we were like, that was it.
That's the missing
That's
piece.
it.
And I don't
So
even know
cute.
how we both felt that.
Oh,
But
I love
when we found
that.
out it was twins, we were like, oh, that was the missing
it.
piece.
That's it.
Yeah,
now.
yeah. And it was really exciting, like telling all the family. And it's just something that doesn't happen very
good.
often.
I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that. So which kind of were you going through like midwifery group practice? Were you going through your
Yeah.
GP,
Yeah,
obstetrician? What were you doing?
Started with GP and
Yep.
then was referred through to midwifery group practice, which was
Excellent.
amazing.
Yep.
I had a wonderful midwife.
Yep.
She helped me through the whole journey.
Yes.
And then we ended up with maternal fetal medicine because
Yep.
multiple pregnancies is deemed as a bit more high risk.
yes.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's how I ended up going through them. So
Yes.
yeah.
So with going through maternal fetal medicine, did they find anything that like caused you to be extra high risk, things like that?
Not at the beginning. Like I was doing fine. There was nothing super alarming, like other than maybe
Yep.
like my thyroid was a bit underactive, so I had to go on some medication for that.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, the pregnancy was going pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
yeah.
then at what kind of gestation was it where they found something was wrong?
Yeah, so I went to my 18-week ultrasound
Yep.
and I had actually started to get quite big.
Yeah.
And I remember the doctor saying like, do you feel bigger? And I was like, yeah, like I'm 18 weeks pregnant and I'm
There are
huge.
bodies growing
But I
inside of
was also
me.
like, I also have 2 humans inside me. Yeah, I
Yes.
thought that this was just
And
normal.
the placentas.
Yeah. And so I ended up getting diagnosed with twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome stage 1 at that ultrasound.
Yeah. Wow.
So because the twins are MCDA twins, monochorionic diamnionic twins.
Yep.
I don't know if I
Yep.
even said that right.
You
That was
did.
perfect.
You did.
I
You
just said
nailed
MCDA. So it just basically means that they share the same placenta.
Yep.
And so in twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, basically one twin is the donor and transferring like its own nutrients and
Yep.
whatnot over to the other twin. So it's not evenly distributed anymore.
Mhm.
So then I got put on bed rest. So I had to stop work immediately, which was pretty tough
Wow.
because
Yeah.
it was super early.
Yes.
I hadn't planned to go on leave for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And
Even money wise, like that's really
Yeah,
difficult
it
to
was-
do that.
yeah, we really weren't prepared for that. And
Yep.
it was scary, but I was kind of like, I can do that for them.
Yep.
Like I can go on bed rest.
Yeah.
And so I was on bed rest for the week and then the next scan at my 19 weeks, because they started making the scans more frequent.
Yeah.
A 19-week scan, they had found that my cervix had started to like open. So I think
Yeah.
I was 7 centimeters.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
And this was
That would have been really
19 weeks.
scary.
Yeah, I was so scared and I'd ballooned up so big. I was struggling to walk. Like that week people had like when I'd go out somewhere, people were like, oh, like you're ready to pop. And I was like, I'm 19 weeks pregnant.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I shouldn't be so big. And that's I think what made the doctor be
Yeah.
like, she's holding a lot of fluid and now
Yes.
she's like her cervix is dilating. So I got sent that afternoon for the like a stitch to try
Yes.
to stop my body from going into preterm labor.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that was really scary. That's when it really started to kick off, I suppose.
Yep.
And I was in hospital overnight on the Friday. And
Mhm.
then they were like, we're going to send you down to Brisbane for surgery or like a procedure where they do on twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. So I got flown to Brisbane on the Monday. And when I got to Brisbane on the Monday, they sort of like prepped us for what that would look like, what it
Yep.
was. So
Yeah.
it's basically laser surgery where they sort of sever the ties between the twins to try to stop that imbalance happening.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I was all ready to go in for surgery, and the doctor came and said, our machine's actually malfunctioned.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh.
We've got to fly you to Sydney tonight.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh my, like, you know. So we got on a
Wow.
flight that night, and
Was this like commercial flight or RFDS?
yeah,
commercial
yeah,
flight?
yeah. And so Damien and I got on a flight, and I just felt like something was so off. I was vomiting the whole flight.
Oh my god.
I was in so much like discomfort,
Yeah.
and I was huge. So when we got to the like landed in Sydney, they sort of had to like drive me to,
Yeah.
you know, the taxi because I was just so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we got to Sydney Hospital, it was a bit of, it's quite different when you
Yeah.
go state from a different state. So
Mm.
it was a bit of confusion when we got there, but eventually we figured it out, and I think I got to the maternity ward by like 2 a.m.
Oh my gosh, you would have been
Oh,
exhausted.
Yeah.
you
Oh,
poor
the midwives were really good.
thing.
They were like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. You must be so tired.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you poor thing.
Like, yeah,
They
I
were like,
am.
you've got a big day tomorrow, we think. So like get some rest. And then the next day, the doctor came and spoke to us and did an ultrasound. And from that ultrasound, they were like, well, they said, you've progressed to stage 3.
Oh wow.
So-
Oh my
That
gosh.
And this was just in a few.
Yeah, in a few
Ouch.
days,
Yeah.
really,
Wow.
like from the Friday to the Monday
Yep.
or to the Tuesday. And yeah, that was really scary because stage 3, I don't know if you guys know that as much about it, but it's not good when you get when you're
Mm.
progressing, and to be progressing that fast as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they kind of said, you know, we can choose to terminate the pregnancy because
Oh
it is a
God.
risk to yourself,
Wow.
to your own body, or we will have to do surgery. But the likelihood of I think the likelihood of one surviving was like 50%, but the
Wow.
likelihood of both was like
Wow.
25%.
Oh,
wow.
Maddie, that would have been so scary.
Yeah,
That's
it
a
was
huge decision
and
to
that's
make.
yeah,
You're
decision.
exhausted. You've just
Yeah.
gone from city to city.
yeah. It was
You're away from your family. Like you've just got Damien there with you. Like
Yeah.
that's
It was-
really scary.
It was really, really tough. Like, honestly, so emotionally hard because I'd only just started to feel them fluttering in my belly.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, I was just like, I'm not the person to
Yep.
make this call
Yeah.
about not giving them a chance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we said to the doctor, we were like, we will do anything. We will do the surgery, and
Yep.
went through all the risks. And he was very much like, I'll do as much as I can, but we don't see very good
Yeah.
outcomes at this point.
Yep.
And they were so little as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ended up going through to surgery. I don't think I was prepared for how intense the operation would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
They gave me a Valium,
Mm-hmm.
and
Just one.
yeah,
I'd be like, 2, please.
Yeah, seriously.
yeah. So they I had a Valium. They needed me awake.
Awake
Yeah.
for the surgery.
Yeah, I think it was something to do with the risk that it could be to the twins if they like put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't tell you exactly what because I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
really remember that well.
Oh,
But yeah, so I was laying in there, and they did say to me, it will get really, really hot. You're obviously getting a laser put into you.
Yeah.
So yeah, they laid me down, and when they started, like they put the little incision into my belly, and they put a rod in, and they have a camera in there, and that's where they start to do the lasering between them. It's very risky because you like if you move and
Yeah.
it misses, it can do something to the
Mm,
twins, to your
mm.
body, to the placenta, you know.
So they didn't
Yeah.
even do a spinal or anything for you.
No.
Okay.
And there would definitely be reasons for all of that.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, but basically it was just that it wasn't going to be helpful to
And you
do
would have
that.
felt like
Yeah.
under so much pressure to stay so still, so
Yeah.
straight, not
Yes.
move. Like that's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
pressure. And
Yeah.
Oh
It's
my
still
gosh.
to this day is like quite a traumatizing thing for me to remember because it's probably
Mm.
it was probably one of the worst things I've ever had to go through physically.
Yeah.
It was, so when the surgery or the procedure started, I started like vomiting heaps. And so they allowed Damien to come in. He was at my head, and he was putting like the wafers under my tongue, trying to get the vomiting to stop because
Yeah.
they needed me to
Yes.
be still.
Yes.
But then because I had so much fluid, the way I was laying, I had like all this pressure on my pelvis, and it was super painful. Like I was just like saying like, please stop. Like it's really painful. And they were kind of like, we got to do this. And I knew we had to, but it's just a pain that I can't describe.
Yeah.
And it was so hot. I was like profusely sweating, and it was the longest like 45 minutes of my life. Like
Oh, that
Could
sounds
you
like to
Poor
physically
thing.
endure.
Yeah. Could you
Um,
see like on a screen what they were doing, or
I probably could have, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was just trying so hard to focus, but Damien, bless him, was watching the screen and he saw like a little foot on the camera,
Yeah.
and that's not something you see every day, to
No.
see your baby like
In
On
the
the
belly,
inside.
in
Yeah.
utero. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, so I think for him, he like fortunately got to have that little bit of, that
Yeah.
that
Positive
hope.
experience.
Yeah. And that
Yeah.
connection with
Yeah.
them already.
Yeah, and he was really, really amazing in that
Yep.
that time. He was
Yep.
really encouraging and just supportive, and I'm so grateful that he was there,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
I really actually don't know how I would have done it without him.
He's
So-
so supportive. Hey,
Yeah,
like he's been with you. Every
he's
step of the
amazing.
way.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
amazing. So yeah, that was the whole procedure, and then during that I think they got like 3 liters maybe of fluid out of me,
You're joking.
and like they were like, we want to get more out, but I couldn't do it any
Yeah,
longer.
okay.
So they just got what they could, and yeah, that was the end of the procedure. And then they basically just said, we'll just have to do an ultrasound tomorrow, and we'll see if the bubs have heartbeats.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
What a
So that
scary
all night you
24
would have been
hours.
just very scared. You didn't feel them moving or anything through that night?
So they asked me to try to feel for them moving. I could only feel one.
Yeah.
So I was super scared of what
Yeah.
the news would
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mum and dad actually flew to Sydney
bless
straight
them.
away. So when I got out of
Your
the
beautiful mum,
operation,
she is
Yes.
yeah,
beautiful.
my mum and
So
dad were
lovely.
there, and I have never been so happy to see my mum and
Yeah.
dad.
Oh my God.
There, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was really good as a
Yeah.
support network that we had
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Yeah. And so then the next day, the doctor came, checked in on me, and said, we're going to go do the ultrasound. And we couldn't even look at the screen. We were so
Just
scared.
So
Yeah.
scared.
It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. They did the ultrasound, and I closed my eyes, and I just heard these 2 little heartbeats.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, Maddie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Such a special moment to
Yeah.
know that they were still there and fighting.
Mhm.
Yes.
So yeah, that was So we went from that, and then the next day they just kept doing ultrasounds, and
Yeah.
both the twins were doing
And at
they
this
were doing
stage,
good.
were you 20 weeks ish?
Yeah, I think I was there. Yeah, and I think by the time I got back, I was just flipping to 21.
Yep.
Yeah, I was there in Sydney for a week.
Yep.
Yeah, or just under a week, I think.
Yep.
And yeah, and then they flew me back and went back to bed rest.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was, even when I got back, even though I had a little bit less fluid, it was just so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't even remember how to explain it. I just remember being unable to like walk.
Yeah. And you're really tiny anyway. So
You
3
are.
liters is a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. And just like, I just couldn't do anything
Yeah.
really, because it
Yeah.
was just, well, one, I was scared to do anything, and then I was just too hard. So
Yeah.
I stayed with my sister, and yeah, she's also awesome.
She is.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
So I was with Bianca, and she was just sort of like helping take care of me as well. And she took like one photo of my belly that I have, because I didn't really get that many photos. So that was nice.
Yeah.
And we initially, mum and my sisters, I think, were planning to do like a tiny little baby shower
Yep.
Yeah.
at my sister's house with me in bed.
Yeah,
that's
that's
so
sweet.
sweet.
Wheel the bed out to the
You do,
living
you
room.
have
That's
to-
what, well, that was the plan. But it wasn't too long after I ended
Yep.
back up in hospital.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was just because I started having some spotting, and
Yep.
I couldn't feel the twins as much.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, we ended up staying in hospital because there
Yep.
was just risk factors. They were
Yes.
kind of like, oh, we're not super sure if your body's going to keep holding on.
Yes.
So I can't even remember the exact signs for that because it's just such a blur.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, we ended up getting our ultrasounds and everything done again. And the twin that was on my left, which was twin B, which was Jude,
Yeah.
was sitting super low. So I could definitely feel how uncomfortable that was. And so, yeah, anyway, they ended up deciding, look, your body's like having some little contractions. We're just going to take out the pessary, take out the stitch, because we're not too sure whether your body's going to I think your body's going to want to go into labor pretty early.
Yeah.
And they just wanted to get me to 24 weeks. But at this
Yes.
point, I was 22.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, stayed in hospital, and Damien was allowed to stay in hospital with me, thankfully. And we ended up getting, you guys will be able to help me with this, got all the different things. I got steroids, got the
Yes.
magnesium,
Yeah.
Yes.
got a bunch of things.
Yep.
Magnesium was dreadful.
How did you feel on it?
Just like kind of similar to how I felt at the beginning of the laser surgery, just
Yeah.
sweaty,
Hot.
disgusting,
Yeah.
vomity, you know.
Yeah. But
all
you
the
didn't
things.
feel like something bad was about to happen?
Well, something bad was like,
Happening.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like not different to what I was already
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's really interesting. Sometimes mums say that they feel like they're going to die. Like
Yeah.
that's how bad of a feeling the magnesium
Yeah.
sulfate can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really tough drug.
Yeah.
It is. It was really unpleasant, but
Yeah.
I would say the laser surgery was worse. So it reminded me of the laser surgery.
Yeah.
Without the pain. Like it was more just the, like my
Feelings.
body actually feels like,
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Poor thing.
it doesn't last too long. Like you can bear it, I suppose.
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
you know,
You're
it's
a
You're
mum.
tough
You
as
do
Maddie.
things
You
for the
are
Yeah,
baby.
seriously
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
Thank you, Meg. And so while I was getting all of that stuff done, I met one of the doctors from NICU.
Yep.
And it was really scary because we had only ever heard only bad things that were
Yeah.
coming
Yep.
because they were so little.
Yes.
Mhm.
And
And there's also 2 of them, so that just
Yeah.
increases.
yeah, exactly. And I think Damien and I were just so hopeless and we wanted so desperately
Yes.
for things to go
Yeah.
right. But
Yes.
we had such a like cascade of events happening that we were like, man, we just need to hear something good.
Yeah.
And we said that to the doctor, and the doctor was like, look, like it's our job to just do whatever we can. And if
Yes.
your choice is that, if these twins come and your choice is that you want to resuscitate,
Yes.
we will do that. And we
Yeah.
said, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how small, we just want you
Yeah.
to give it a go and
Yeah.
try to save them. And the doctor
Mhm.
was like, yep, that's our job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would have
And,
made you feel a bit like better
we
too,
were just
you
like,
know,
oh,
for somebody
NICU
to be
must
like,
be
we will
amazing.
do
Yeah.
whatever you
yeah.
want.
Like we will
Yeah.
give them a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all we
Yep.
wanted. That's all we asked for. And we didn't get an opportunity to go through NICU. I wish we did. I think that would
Yes.
have been really helpful. But it was at 22 plus 6.
Mhm.
And I was watching Gossip Girl one night with Damien.
XOXO.
Yes, and we went to bed. It was like 8 o'clock or something. And I had just been laying in bed. He rolled over to go to sleep in his little couch. And I
Little
was
green
like,
couch.
Yeah.
Most uncomfortable
The most comfy
thing.
bed ever.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I'm really like feeling a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Like these contractions don't feel like what they've been feeling this week, because I'd been having lots of weird
Yes.
pulling feelings and contraction type feelings since like the surgery. They'd
Mhm.
just on and off sort of thing,
Yeah.
which my body must have just been trying to figure out what it wanted to do.
Yep.
And they were really close. And I said to Damien, I was like, I think I might actually be having contractions. We need
Yeah.
to get the nurse in. And when the nurse came in, I think they were like 3 minutes apart.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And so I called my mum
Mhm.
and she didn't answer and I panicked. And then so I called my dad and mum was there. Her phone just hadn't rung.
Okay.
And I was like, Mum, I'm in labour.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness.
And they wheeled me down to birth suite and I was like 2 minutes apart.
Oh my god.
And by the time I got down to birth suite, I was like 7 or 8 centimeters.
Wow.
And I was like, I remember my midwife saying to me, when it comes, just embrace it.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh, this is going to happen.
Yep.
And I need to just roll with it.
Yep.
And it was super scary. My mum got there so fast. And then my sister got there as well because we wanted someone to be there to take photos because
Yes.
Yeah.
we thought it might be the only time we got to see the twins.
Yep.
So yeah, the labour ended up being about 2 hours, I think.
So quick.
And NICU team rocked up. The first thing I said when they were wheeling me down was, "Someone call NICU.
I need them
I
there.
need them to save them. Like I need them
Yeah.
to save them." And
And that was
yeah,
like your hope.
that was it.
NICU coming.
That was what I was holding on to.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are going to save them.
Yeah.
And so they kind of really needed me to hold off pushing until the team got there, which
Yeah.
was hard. But I did it somehow. And so the NICU team came in
Yeah.
with the 2 beds,
Yes.
and Kirsty was one of the
Yes.
nurses that was there.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I had Jude first,
Mm-hmm.
and
Take
they
your time. It's okay.
yeah. So they I have this beautiful photo of Jude when he was born, and he's got his hand up on his head, just looking
boy.
like he's kicking back. Yeah, and I didn't know what I had because it was so chaotic.
Yes.
And Jude got passed over to Kirsty,
Yep.
and the doctor that was there.
Yep.
And I think you talked about it in your last podcast. He got put into this little bag.
Yes. Yes.
And then that was at 12:22.
Yeah.
And then George, obviously, he had been coming down and then he had turned. So he was breech.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
contractions stopped. So they gave me a drip. They gave me
Yep.
something. I'm not too
Yep.
sure what it was.
Would have been to start the constructions again. Would be in Syntocin.
Yeah. But it didn't actually do anything.
Didn't do anything.
I just had to push.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thankfully, the twins obviously were really little. So,
Yep.
so yeah, I just had to push as hard as I could. And 5 minutes later, George was born,
Mhm.
and he was born still in his sack.
Oh, wow.
Oh my
On
goodness.
the call. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
And
Yeah.
while you
That
were
would-
waiting, like getting the drip,
Yeah.
could you see what they were doing with Jude?
I couldn't quite see.
Mhm.
But I remember my mum saying that she looked at the doctor that was there,
Yep.
and he gave a nod and was like,
Yep.
he's
He's
Oh,
all
Yeah.
right.
he's good.
and
Yeah.
I said, what did I have?
I need to see.
And someone said that they're twin boys.
Wow.
And I was like, I knew it. Like, I
Mhm.
knew they were boys the whole time.
Wow.
I just had a feeling. And yeah, the birth itself was quite chaotic. Like, I feel like I'm very much making it seem pretty chill, but there was
It
so
was very
much. There was so
chaotic.
many people in the
Yes.
room.
There would have been a team for each twin and then
Yeah.
a big team for you. So like
There was
a
heaps.
team for a 22-week
Yeah.
twin, that's at least 3
Yeah.
people per twin for the
Yeah.
NICU team.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this birth suite would have
Yeah.
been
And then
very busy.
2 cots, one for
Yeah.
each twin as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And I just remember there being lots of counting.
Mhm.
I don't even know what was happening, but I remember when the twins were being born, there was just like a lot of counting with the umbilical cord, and
Yeah.
I think George's had like snapped, and so there was like some
That
complications.
was Jude's.
It was Jude.
That was Jude's.
See, I am
Yeah.
like
Yep.
really bad with my memory. I just
Mhm.
like it was such a blur.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we,
that was
we got onto that really quickly.
that was
though,
like-
and we clamped it
clamped
again
it.
straight away. Yep.
Yeah, so
Yep.
I remember that being like a bit overwhelming, and yeah, it was honestly so terrifying. I just always pictured when I'd have my first baby to take my baby and put it on my chest
Yes.
and
Yeah.
just touch them,
Yeah.
Yes.
and that was really hard.
Mm.
And you know, even Damien being able to like cut the umbilical cord and all the things that seem really normal and
Yeah.
common, and I
Yeah.
just didn't get a single glimpse of
Mhm.
what
Yes.
I imagined.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's always and still is really hard for me
Yeah.
to face.
Yeah.
Of course.
But I was just grateful that there was a team working on my boys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so the twins ended up getting taken away to NICU, and Damien went with the team,
Yeah.
and I had to stay behind because I had hemorrhaged and I had a tear internally.
Yeah.
So I got taken straight to surgery, and they gave me a spinal there for surgery and did the repair. So
Were you by yourself? Or was
Yeah.
your mum like,
yeah, I was by myself. Damien and my sister had gone to NICU. Mum stayed with me until I went in for surgery, but I had
Mhm.
to go in there with the team because
oh,
I think
yeah.
there was a lot of people there too.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I went in for surgery and I was awake and I was like, my babies are born and I have
Yeah.
no idea where they
Yeah.
are, how they are, like what they even look like.
Yeah.
And that was really tough. I remember being like, my whole body was trembling for
Yeah.
ages. And the doctor that came, the anaesthetist,
Yeah.
was like, we need to warm you up and get you calm. You're in shock because we need to do the spinal.
Yeah.
So it took a little while because my body was just like, uncontrollably shaking.
Mhm.
And so then anyway, when we got out of surgery, I was like in the post-op room for a little while
Yeah.
by myself. There was no one else in
Oh
there.
my God.
And your
there's
thoughts, like you would have just been all in
Yeah.
your thoughts.
I
Like,
was
Yeah.
so
what is
scared.
happening?
Like I just wanted to see someone I
Yes.
knew, or I needed
Mm.
to see my boys.
Yes.
And luckily there was this really beautiful nurse that was there, and she was talking to me about her little boy.
Good.
And
Oh,
she just was cheering me up, and
good.
we were talking about how much we loved hot chocolate. And I was dreaming of that. And so, then we ended up, eventually got wheeled out, and Damien and my mum and sister were waiting for me in the corridor.
Good.
And that's when I got wheeled into NICU.
Because I remember seeing your mum and your sister in the hallway. I'd gone out to get something from one of the areas, and I said to her, they're doing okay. They're on the ventilator. They're doing okay. They're stable, you know. And
They definitely remember that.
did
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
What was the first thing that they said to you or you said to them?
Oh, when I came out,
Yeah.
I can't even remember. I just remember them saying that they said like the twins were, like you had said, the twins were doing okay.
Yep.
And obviously just gave me a big hug and
Yep.
were checking in on
Yep.
how I did in the surgery. It's like I can't even remember being wheeled down that corridor to NICU. I just remember I remember laying in the bed and them wheeling me through NICU and looking at the light on the roof. Like there's like the skylight.
the skylights.
And I just was
The
like,
trees.
what is going on? It's like 3 a.m. and I'm like, I was like, anyway, and it was Christmas, almost Christmas time. So NICU was like the Grinch everywhere. I'm like so overwhelmed and overstimulated, but like it was nice.
There
it
were
was nice.
so many decorations that year as well.
Yeah. But it was nice that like
we shared first place that year, by the way.
Yes, you did very well, the team. So yeah, but it was nice that the twins didn't look like they were in such a clinical space.
Yep.
Straight up, even though the room was coming in there, I was like, okay. So yeah, got to the room and I just was laying in bed and I got to see them for the first time, and I don't think photos will ever do justice on how small they are.
Yes.
They were 510 grams, which is supposedly pretty good for a 22 week.
Yeah.
Were they the same weight? Or
They weighed the
same
exact
weight.
same.
Same weight. Yeah.
Twins
Jude was just half a centimeter taller. Yeah, that was the only difference.
Oh, what a big boy.
Yeah. So so that was a surreal moment to meet my twin boys for the first time.
Yeah.
Outside the womb.
And then what was it like seeing them so little? Like you wouldn't have ever seen a premature baby before. So what was that like?
It's almost like my brain blocks it out a little bit, which makes me kind of sad. But it was like they're the most beautiful things I've ever seen. They're my babies.
Yeah.
It was really confronting. Yeah. Confronting seeing how much tubes there are, like the environment,
the noises.
Like I feel like I still hear them noises sometimes, and it was just I wanted to just be able to like hold them. That was really tough. Just the only word I can think of is just confronting, but beautiful at the same time. I felt like I was just looking at these miracles before my eyes, and I've never seen a miracle before like that.
By the time you got over there, how old were they? Were they hours old or?
Yeah, by the time I got to NICU, they would have been
3 or 4 hours old.
Yeah, because I was in surgery for a couple hours, I'd say. So they probably were like 3 or 4 hours old.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think back to then, and I had just no idea what anything was going to look like from there on.
Yes.
I don't even think when I was pregnant and when they were talking to me about preemie babies, I hadn't actually imagined what a preemie baby would look like.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so it's just so hard to explain the like translucent skin.
Yes.
The eyes are sealed shut still.
Yep.
Like there's just it's beautiful, but so nothing I've ever seen.
Yep. So overwhelming, hey.
Yeah. And then after I was there for a bit, they were like, go back to maternity. You need to try to get some sleep, which was really hard.
Yes, you just want to be with your baby.
Yeah. But I had to go back and have a little bit of rest. I had a couple hours sleep, and then I think during the night I had to like sign a couple things. Like there's just lots of random things that you have to do along the way.
Yeah.
And that was the first night.
Yeah.
For many, time spent in a neonatal unit with a premature or sick baby can be a very emotional, overwhelming and traumatic time. If you would like to talk to someone who has a shared neonatal experience and need peer emotional support, please call Miracle Babies Foundation Nurture Line on 1300 622 243.
So then,
When you first came to NICU, did like some nurses and some doctors chat to you? Like, what was those conversations like for you?
Yeah, I would say like after that night, like when I had been coming to visit during that week, then the twins both had a nurse each because obviously they were so tiny and they needed so much support and care. We were really fortunate to be educated by some of the nurses that were looking after them and talking about like what we could do. So it wasn't necessarily in those first couple of days, but within the first week we got to do some like touch, which was amazing.
That would have been amazing.
Yes.
How was that for you? Like, how did you feel when you
like
touched
trembling hands? I was so scared I was going to do something to hurt them or like, because I came down quite unwell after my surgery. My body was just super like run down.
Yes.
So I was like really nervous that I was going to make them sick or something.
Yeah.
But when I did their first cares, that was so scary. And I appreciate you guys talking about that in your previous podcast because we probably wouldn't have ever found the courage to do cares if it weren't for the encouragement from the nurses.
Yep.
And with cares, like what did you do that first time? Like talk us through it.
We did like with the little squares, like the little gauze, did cleaning under their arms and behind their ears with some saline. Or I don't know if it was saline in the beginning. Is it just water?
I think it's
Saline
just-
on the eyes and water on the body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, remember.
Yeah. So it's just basically making sure that all the like little crevices are clean
Yeah.
so they don't get any bugs or anything growing. And then every now and then we got to do a little eye sock, which I didn't delve into, but when the twins were born, I had to try to get my milk to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was super proud of myself. I got like half a syringe of colostrum
Oh
in the
my
first
gosh,
day.
that's
That's
amazing. That is
amazing.
really
Yeah.
amazing. Good
Yeah.
on you, Maddie.
22 weeks after
Yeah.
surgery, after everything
Yeah.
you've been through. That's
Yeah.
so good.
There's so many like little things. I'm like, oh my gosh, didn't this happen? So that was like my goal is I really wanted to be able to breastfeed.
Yeah.
And I'd been working on getting colostrum, so we were able to start giving some like little with the what do I call it?
The cotton
Yeah,
tips.
Cotton tips.
Yeah.
In there, just in like their cheeks or their mouths.
Yeah.
And that was like I have a video of us doing it, and one of the nurses says, "You're feeding your
Feeding
baby."
Oh,
Yeah.
And it's still one
That's
of my
so
favorite
special.
videos.
Yeah.
It was really, really special. And I think like, and this goes for the whole NICU journey, but the little things in NICU are like the biggest things in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like every little thing you do is so big. So we had that really special moment in that first week with both of the twins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I missing anything with the cares? I think that's the
No,
main
that's
stuff we did.
Oh,
at
the
the
nappy?
beginning.
Did you do the
how
nappy?
did you
Oh,
go
and
with
the
the
nappy.
nappy?
Yeah. Folding the nappy down was like
Yeah.
there's a lot of trick to that. They're so small.
You've been using like the smallest nappy as well.
Yeah,
and
the
it's-
tiniest nappy I've ever seen, and it still didn't fit. So we had to like fold it down so that it would fit them.
Is because they had the lines in the little belly button. Is that why we're folding it down? Yeah.
Yeah, we did that on you'll have to remind me, they couldn't get a line into George, I believe.
Yes.
And Jude had a line.
Yeah.
For George, they couldn't get it in his. So, but yeah, we were folding it down on Jude.
Yeah.
I think we just naturally did it to George as well because it looked like
Yeah.
obnoxiously huge on him.
It would have swum on them.
Yeah.
So I think Jude had one in the vein and one in the artery.
Yeah.
And then George just had one in the vein initially. And then they had to go somewhere else afterwards.
Yeah. That's right. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That was cares. That was first cares. And then
How did Damien
feeding.
go with it?
He's a trooper.
Yeah.
Like he's just like I will give anything a go.
That's so good.
Yeah. And like don't get me wrong, it's not because you don't want to, it's
Yeah.
just because they're so delicate.
Yes.
And like their skin was so delicate
Yes.
that it's just, you don't want to do anything.
Yes.
And even going from like the cold outside air to the 80% humidity inside
Oh,
the cot,
yeah.
you would have been
Yeah.
like, oh my God.
We were always panicked about the doors being
freezing.
open.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
just got to put
Yes.
the
Like, trying to be
air
fast.
curtain on all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were notorious for being like, if it turned off, we'd be like, we need to turn that on.
Yeah.
So, like, we were so annoying to the nurses. We'd be like, that's turned off. Can you
No,
turn
but
it
you know
on?
what? That's a good thing because,
Mhm.
you know, sometimes if we're in the cot and we're doing things, we don't notice it turn off.
Yeah.
And with you giving us like a little prompt, we're like, oh, yes, we'll turn that back on.
Yeah.
And it's better for your baby.
Yeah.
And you're advocating for your baby in
Yeah.
that moment.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're being a mum.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what I needed to learn is
Yes.
in NICU, I think you start feeling like you really struggle with the out of control.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yep.
you're like, oh, they got to take care of my babies because
Mhm.
I'm incapable of doing these medical things, you know, to what they need.
Yep.
And then something that I found really helpful that one of the nurses talked to me about was the importance of parents being involved
Yeah.
Good.
and skin to skin and doing
Amazing.
all the things. And
Yep.
so my brain was like, I need to learn everything that I can do
Mhm.
and
Yep.
everything I can control because
Yes.
that's the only way I'm getting through this.
Absolutely.
So I learned, you know, you could do holding hands,
Yep.
you
Mhm.
can do the cares,
Yep.
and then eventually do some skin to skin
Yep.
when they're
Yep.
able to.
Yep.
And when we couldn't do those things, we were
Yep.
reading
Yes.
all the time. We had
Yes.
like a
Yep.
library in
you
our
did.
room
You really did.
because
Yep.
someone told us that reading to them was really good for their brain development, and we were like,
It
we're giving
is.
them every chance we can. So we were just always reading, and we have so many books now from
Yep.
our NICU journey, and
Have any favourite books that you like to read them?
there is so many. The giraffe one, I'm trying to think of what it's called. Giraffes Can't Dance?
That's hilarious.
I'm like, I need to go back through the library of
Yeah,
books
you
and think
do,
of the ones I used to
yeah.
read. There is one that I really love, but I just can't think of what it's called right now. But yeah, we read lots of Dr. Seuss as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. Damo loves anything that rhymes, so
He
there was a
was onto
lot.
it.
There was a lot of them. Yeah. But yeah, so like after 1 week in NICU, the twins, Jude's eyes has started to open. Yeah, which
Beautiful.
was incredible. I was like, oh my gosh, his eyes, like, you know, like
Yeah.
just the little
Yeah.
things that you just don't think
Yeah.
about. And then George was a few days after him. So
Yeah.
Jude was always one step ahead.
He was.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. He was just like leading the way for his little brother.
Yeah.
Was.
Yeah.
And did you know that they were going to come out with their eyes still
No,
fused? Did
I
you know
didn't.
that? No.
No,
Yeah.
and I obviously didn't even think about
Mm.
anything, you know.
Yeah.
So that was also like quite confronting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not in a bad way, just like I just didn't even think about that.
I guess
Yeah.
too, when you first look at them, you don't realize they're fused. You just think they're closed.
Yeah.
And then
Mm.
when somebody tells you like they can't open their eyes,
Yeah.
they're fused, you're like,
Oh.
God, like,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And there was like, I'm not too sure in terms of like how well their hearing is,
Mm.
but there would be times there where we'd be talking to Jude and George and they'd like move a little arm or
Aw,
like
cute.
something would happen and that would just be like a little spark in us, you know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
ignited. So
Yeah.
They knew you were there. They knew this is
Yeah.
my mum and my dad.
Yeah,
And they're
yeah.
here chatting to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that became really important to like
Yeah.
make sure we were trying to talk over them as much
Yeah.
as we could.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, do you want me to keep going through my journey?
Can you tell us
so-
about your first cuddle with both the
Mm.
boys?
yeah. So my first cuddle, I don't even know how to describe my first cuddle with both of them.
How old were they?
I believe my first cuddle with Jude was at the beginning of December.
Mm.
So they would have been like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah. And it was hard because we were alternating between Damien and I being able to
Yes.
do cuddles.
Yes.
So yeah, they were roughly like
Mhm.
around that.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and double check though.
Mhm.
But yeah, they were really, really, really tiny, and they had been on and off sick for those first couple of weeks, so that's why we were sort of touch and go on whether we would be able to do cuddles anytime soon.
Yes.
But yeah, they were both equally incredible, and different, even though they're
Yes.
twins.
Mhm.
I always felt different about they're their own humans, you know,
Yeah.
and yeah, really just the most surreal and most beautiful moments of my life,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I would give anything to do them again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you ever get to have twin cuddles? Did you ever get to have both of them on you in those first few weeks? Or was it a
We
while
didn't.
afterwards?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was always a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forever, imagine and
Yep.
pretend I had that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to have cuddle each at the same time
Yeah.
Mhm.
once
Yep.
on Christmas Eve.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So Damien had Jude
Yeah.
and I had George.
Yeah.
And we had our chairs next to each other
Yes,
and it felt
I
like
remember
we
that.
were.
Yeah.
You'll have to show us some photos.
Yeah,
so we can show
definitely.
everyone what that looks like.
Absolutely. That was one of my favorite moments. Yeah. It
Yep.
was like my Christmas present.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the twins had already been facing so much adversity in those few weeks.
Mm.
Like with their brain scans, the heart scans.
Yes.
Um,
Their breathing, their
What-
sugars,
what
their
did their
electrolytes. Yeah.
Brain scan show.
yeah. So the twins both had brain bleeds.
Mhm.
They were grade 2 and grade 3, I believe.
Mhm.
From memory. We had some really tough conversations with the doctors and we basically were informed and like understandably we're sort of given the information on what they know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
which was that the twins would likely be wheelchair bound.
Yeah.
And we were offered the option on whether we wanted to cease care.
Mhm.
And for us, we were kind of like, is it selfish for us to make a decision to keep giving them care?
Yeah.
Like, all these questions going through our head. But
Yeah.
it was only for a very short time that we
Mhm.
thought that way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we
And
were
see,
like,
that's another really big decision to make. You've
Yeah.
already gone through a lot of those big decisions and then
mm,
You
another
fought
one.
so hard to
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
where
where
you
you
are.
were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly. And I think like Damien and I ended up saying, we don't want to make these
Yep.
decisions. We just want to do everything we
Mm.
can and we
Yes.
want to back them.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And the doctor said to us, what do you need from us? Like, what do you want us to do? And we said, we want you to have hope.
Yes.
Mm.
And that's all we want. And
Yep.
if you believe you can get them there,
Yeah.
then that's all that we want.
Mhm.
Yes.
And the doctor was like, yeah, we can definitely do that. And so yeah, we just continued to go ahead with the treatment and caring for them as
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they were both on ventilators for a good month,
Yeah.
5 weeks.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. 5 weeks. So yeah,
Mm.
we basically went up to Christmas and we had been in the same room since they were born.
Yes.
And it's a room that they don't typically offer, I think, to
no, it's
the little
normally,
bubbers.
It's
No.
normally like a surgical space.
yeah, but they
yeah.
wanted to give us a room that had like a double room so we could have both the twins.
Yes.
And so it was on the day after Christmas, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to remember. Anyway, it was really close
It was
to
close.
Christmas.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was Boxing Day.
Yeah.
We got to move to a room with windows.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
We were so excited, but also I was so nervous to move the twins across
Yes.
because that means that they have to take them off the machines and
Yep.
manually
Yep.
manage their
for them.
breathing.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So naturally, all the NICU nurses know what they're doing. But as a mum and having never had that happen yet, I was really nervous but really excited. I
Yeah.
vlogged the whole thing.
Were you there?
I love
I was
that.
there.
I
I'd
love
move
that.
across to the
Yep.
new room.
Yep.
And we moved into this like big room with windows. It was
mhm.
bright.
It's
and
a
I
beautiful
remember
room. Yep.
saying to Jude and George, like, it's the sun, Bubbers. Like
Aw.
The
Yep.
first time.
the
seeing the
first
sun.
time seeing like sunlight. And it was like such a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just so excited. And and then the next day, basically the twins, they'd still
Yeah.
been intubated. They had the tubes for their breathing. And Jude was looking like it was growing a bacteria, but he was also looking like he was ready to go on CPAP.
Yes.
And so they did his bloods, and I remember the nurse running down with the sheet and going, "These are the best blood results we've ever seen.
Best gas ever.
Like best ever. We don't
Yeah.
see this. We need to frame this."
Mhm.
And we were like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you, buddy."
Yep.
So yeah, they were like made a decision to put Jude on CPAP, and he was
Yep.
doing really good.
How
It was,
old was he?
He was
at this
5
point?
weeks old by this point.
It was one of his best days
One of
he'd
his best
had.
days.
Because I think at that stage he was almost fighting the ventilator. Like he was
Yeah.
so ready to be
He
off
just
it.
was doing
Yeah.
that I can't even think of what it's
Splinting?
splinting.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Cheeky boy. Before he went on CPAP, I have like these beautiful pictures of him, and it makes my heart race. He was just like eyes wide open staring at me.
Yep.
Just like, hey mom.
Yep.
Probably one of the best moments of my life because I felt like he was really looking at me. And yeah, and then he went on CPAP and he was doing really good, and then the nurses were like, you guys should go home early today. The twins are doing pretty good. And I got a phone call that night. I was sitting in my room pumping because I pumped like every 2 hours. And the nurse just said, like, you need to get here now, it's Jude. And we drove so fast to the hospital, and I remember running through the hospital because the door to where we used to go through to NICU was closed, and I was just like praying out loud, like just like screaming, like, someone, like, please save him. And when we got to the room, there was like people everywhere, and he was finally out of his cot, which was just like so surreal for me. I'd only ever seen him in the isolate, and they were trying to revive him.
Yep.
Sorry. And I just remember like falling on the floor and just being like, please save him. And the doctor ended up taking us out of the room and was like, we can't get his heart to go. We're trying our best. And then we went back into the room and they were like, we can't get his heart to go. So they like passed him over to me. Sorry.
Okay. Your time.
They passed him over to me and I got to hold him properly, like in my arms. And yeah, they said we have to take out his breathing tube now because they tried to re-intubate him. And yeah, basically when they took out his tube, it was his like final breath that he had. And that's when the doctor said like the time, and that's when I realized like, holy crap, this is real. And anyone that knows grief knows that feeling of like, it's almost like you're in a nightmare and like you feel like you just can't wait to wake up. And I remember feeling that. And the staff was amazing. Like they were equally as saddened, and I don't think anyone knew it was coming.
It was really expected.
And I think yeah, the hardest part was just that we weren't there. And I still to this day really, really, really struggle with that. And that's no fault of anyone because he was doing really well. It was really sudden. And yeah, so we ended up going to what they call the butterfly room, and we were really blessed that we were able to go stay there with him. And we had, I think, 3 days in the butterfly room with Jude. And yeah, Kirsty was with us. Yeah, and helped us take care of Jude. So I think something that was really important for us as parents was getting to have a couple of first moments.
Yes.
So we got to give him his first bath, got to dress him for the first time, and got to sleep with him. And I remember being in that room and thinking, I feel so whole holding my baby and being here with him. It was one of the best feelings, but the worst feelings knowing that I would have to eventually let him go. And so we're really blessed that we had you there, Kirsty, just to make it really extra special with our baby boy. And our family got to come see him and just have some final days with him. He got to see his first sunrise and his first sunset. So they're really special moments for us, and we're so glad we had that. And yeah, and then I guess the hardest part out of this, other than that night, was the handing over. We were lucky we had a really good nurse that day as well, who we really trusted, that had been with us from the beginning.
Yes.
And basically when we were walking out to give him over, my family did like a guard of honor, like had their hands out for him.
Yep.
Yeah, and I still find it really like haunts me at the moment, like at this point in my life. I think it always will. The day that I had to hand him over, and just replacing the elevator doors closing because that was the last time I saw him.
Break.
You're doing so good.
Sorry.
Proud of you. Seriously, I am.
Thank you.
And in those days after Jude passed away as well, we actually did your first twin cuddles
We
with
did.
him.
We did
Yeah.
actually, yeah. I didn't get
Yeah.
into that. So that was so special. Even though it wasn't what we had planned and what we wanted, we did get to have twin cuddles eventually.
Yeah.
So George was still on the ventilator. He was on one side and Jude was on the other side, and it miraculously made George's stats like just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
George just was like perfect.
Yeah,
His breathing was
He
perfect.
was
His
really at
heart-
peace, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He
It's
was.
like I've got my little brother
Yeah.
here with me.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
just like, Jude was like, you're good,
Yeah,
good. Like,
because George at that stage too was also fighting the ventilator, and he was
he
getting
was.
a
George
bit
was
over it as
It was
well.
actually, I think it was so, people were, like some of the staff were so shocked because George was actually really sick at that
Yes.
time
Yes.
as well. Like you could see he was sick. He looked sick.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it was so surprising, because Jude he was just leading the way, like he did as a big brother. So,
Yeah.
that's why I think it was so shocking to everyone as well. And,
Yes.
and I mean, the staff, like the doctors and nurses might be like this with every family, but we truly felt that everyone was like really backing the twins. Like,
Yes.
they were like,
We
they've
all
got
were.
this. Yeah.
We
Like,
all were.
because it'd just been 5 weeks of them purely fighting so many things,
Yes.
and they just had been doing well
Yes.
considering.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Both your
Yeah.
boys are fighters, and
Yeah.
Jude was a fighter right till the end.
Absolutely.
He was just
Yeah.
both of them. You should be so
Absolutely.
proud of them.
Oh, they are. I have nothing to fear in my life anymore, because they just the
Oh,
bravest
true.
little boys, and yeah, they're just incredibly
Yeah.
resilient, and were fighting since the day they were born. So
Yeah.
naturally, their mama needs to step up and be a fighter too.
Yeah.
You are a fighter.
If they
I
can,
try.
you can. Hey. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Take
that's the motto.
inspiration from them.
Yeah.
So there was another decision you had to make in that time as well.
Yeah.
About whether you wanted to take him home
Yes.
and have some more time with him,
Yes.
or whether you wanted to do an autopsy.
Yes.
So run us through what your thought process was there,
Yeah.
and how you ended up making that decision.
Yeah, that was it was really, really hard. We would have loved to have gone home with him, but the reason we decided not to, and again, we weren't even sure about an autopsy, I think the thought of it mortified
Yes.
me.
Yes.
I was just like, I can't let them do that to him. You'd never want that to happen to your child. The reason that we made the decision was just because we really wanted to know
What happened?
what happened, and we wanted to be able to also know if there was ways we could help George.
Yes.
And yeah, we also just felt like the butterfly room was just also peaceful enough for us to be there, and if anything happened, we were there.
Yeah.
I will be honest that when Jude died, it was really hard for me to stay present for George. I really, there was a moment in time where I was really, really giving up.
Yes.
And I was just like, I cannot do this. Like, my heart is absolutely shattered, and I can't go back in there. And to be honest, going back into that room was incredibly hard, seeing his side gone, his bed
space.
gone.
It would have been horrific.
Yeah.
Maddie, I think I remember the first day that you went into George's room to do his cares after everything had happened. And I remember you and Damien walking into that room.
I remember seeing you.
And I just remember thinking, like, she is such an amazing mum. She is going in there and she is doing
the
George's cares.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? If she can do that, like, I can do anything. Like, you're an inspiration. Like, you are.
Thank you.
Seriously are. I was like, your strength is something that I just thought was so incredible.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I think I don't even, sometimes I just don't even know how. I think at that time it was trying to just remember that there was another little boy in there that was relying on his mum, and I needed to still show up for him. And I also didn't want it to feel like I would give up because we lost Jude's life. His life is still so important now, and it was then, and we have a legacy to keep on of him and in his little brother.
Yes.
And that was, I think, it's sort of helped me get there. I also had a lot of support from my family, and we were fortunate enough in NICU that they were very accommodating to my family members being able to help out with Jude and with George, either in NICU or with us in the butterfly room.
Yeah.
So that was really good as well. But yeah, it was a really hard decision making that choice. But I think even still today, we are glad we made the decision. We got some answers, and hopefully that will go on to help other bubbers.
Do you mind sharing what those answers were?
Yeah. So the main overarching reason they found was that he'd had a heart attack in the days leading up.
Mm-hmm.
On Christmas Day when I went in, I had planned to give him skin to skin, like do cuddles, and he'd fallen unwell, and we weren't exactly sure why. He was just having a lot of like bradycardias, and he just was sick, and then he kind of came good. So it was kind of fitting for that reason. It ended up being his heart.
Yeah.
He was working really hard, and he had a very strong heart. It's just it was tough for him, and it ended up being the main reason. Yeah.
And did that end up helping with George at all? Like, did George have heart issues as well?
Yeah, George had some heart issues as well. They both had like a heart murmur, and the duct was open.
Yeah.
His heart wasn't as damaged, I guess you'd say, as Jude's, because in the twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, one of part of the concerns is that the recipient twin actually takes on too much fluid, and it can cause problems with their heart. So, it did make sense that Jude ended up having some more complications with his heart.
Yeah.
In terms of George's care, I think it just helped them guide, I guess, how they treated him with his future decisions they made.
Yeah.
The doctors did say they still would have done CPAP, and CPAP wasn't the reason. Which was hard for us because we really blamed CPAP. Like we were like, it was just too soon. Like he wasn't strong enough, or
he wasn't ready.
not that he wasn't strong enough, that he was just like his body maybe wasn't prepared. But they said it was more so like it was kind of one of them things that was going to be coming. And there's no saying what could have happened otherwise if we did it differently, but that did help them guide how gently they did it with George. So they held it off as long as they could before they put him on CPAP. And they were very, very closely monitoring him on that. And he lasted, when he went on CPAP, it was like I think he was 7 weeks, and he lasted 5 days, which is pretty awesome. And then he got reintubated, which was really scary because we got a phone call again. And I remember I was like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my other boy. Like it was so scary. And when we got into the room, it was the same doctors and same nurses. And one of the nurses actually said, I'm so sorry, it's us. And we were like, don't be sorry. You tried to save him. You tried to save Jude, and you're here looking after George, and he was okay. He got reintubated, and kept going through day to day. So he was definitely still a big roller coaster with George. He got really sick throughout that journey still. So
going back to the room, you said that you didn't like being in that room anymore. We actually moved you to a different room. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And in that room, remember all the decals that were on the walls? They were all butterflies, and it's the only room in all of the NICU that has butterflies on the walls, and it was really special.
So something that happens for anyone that doesn't know is like when you lose a twin, they put a butterfly on the door, basically to symbolize like this baby is a twin, and we acknowledge that they're twins. And so butterflies was just like so symbolic for us. And so when we moved into a single room, there was butterfly decals all over the doors and windows, and we were just like, oh, okay, like that's a nice sign. This is the room meant to be in here for him. And we made that room as special as we could. We just made it Jude and George's room still. Jude's name was still up on the
Yes.
like on the window
Yep.
and everything.
We had his cot card up, his bunting up,
Yes.
all the photos of them
Yep.
together.
Yeah. So Jude was still very present,
Mm.
and all through NICU he was still very present.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know that lots of nurses used to come in and say good morning to Jude.
Yes, we
'Cause,
would.
we had photos of him and his
Yep.
name up, and
Yep.
I think that George is like extra special because everyone's like, it's a little bit of Jude.
Mm.
Yep.
I remember we always used to go in and be like, "Good morning, Jude. Good morning, George."
Yeah.
You know, like it was always
Yeah.
the two of them.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
was so healing for me as a mum.
Yeah.
Hearing your baby's name spoken, I think something that was really challenging for me, and again, this is not to blame anyone else, but something that was really challenging is that because they are twins, there is that
Yes.
responsive, oh, well, you've got the other one, you know? And that was really hard as a grieving mum.
Yeah.
Because
hear
at the end of
that.
the day, I still birthed 2 baby boys.
Yes.
And whether they're
you
twins, whether
still
they're
lost a
2 years
child.
apart, whether
Yes.
they're, you know, they're still my 2 children.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it was really, really healing to have all the nurses and doctors still acknowledge him.
Yep.
Yeah, and celebrate his life.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so how did Jude's passing change the way you approached your NICU journey afterwards? Were you there longer? Did you stay at the cot side longer? Like
Yeah.
what did you do differently afterwards?
I think I was always present every day at NICU.
Yep.
I think I was probably a little bit more anxious. I was always anxious, but I think it was almost like this, I'm not going to just get out of this easy.
Yep.
And I think because things had started getting a little bit more smooth sailing, I was like, okay, like we're going to get out of this, like, which is, I'm glad I had hope. Hope
Yes.
is the only thing that got me through my pregnancy and through the NICU. But I was a lot more vocal.
Yeah.
If there were things that maybe I wanted looked at, if there was maybe something someone had done in terms of his care, I would speak up.
Yeah.
And if there were things that were going wrong with him or anything, I would always stay.
Yep.
When he went on CPAP, I slept on the couch in his room. You know,
Yeah.
Yes.
if there was something happening with him, I would just stay. So I think I never thought to do that when the twins were like together.
Yep.
I always felt like they had each other.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wish I had stayed with them more. But
Yep.
I was kind of like, they got each other, you
Mhm.
know. So but yeah, I definitely stayed there
Yep.
overnight a lot more.
Yep.
But George was also getting bigger and I could do more. So we were doing more of his feeds through the tube
Yep.
and more skin to skin. And as he got better or like more resilient, I would do like really long cuddles,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
6 to
Good.
7 hour cuddles.
Wow.
Good.
Yeah.
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 So nice.
She's a
He would have
powerhouse.
loved it.
How did you even
Yeah.
like hold your wee in for that?
Honestly, I don't know. I was like constantly dehydrated or
Yeah.
something. Probably why it was so hard to get my milk in half
Yeah.
the time. Like that was such a challenge, was like I ended up with mastitis because I would do such long cuddles
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we weren't breastfeeding yet and then I
Yeah.
wouldn't pump.
Yes.
So that was difficult.
Mhm.
But I was like, oh, well, cuddles are more important.
yeah.
I can deal with the
Mm.
repercussions
Mm.
of my
Yeah.
decisions later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the breastfeeding side of things, like I'm glad I did it, but that was really challenging. It was an added stressor because my body
Yes.
was really struggling. You
Yeah.
can't take food into the NICU, understandably. So I wasn't keeping up a great diet. I
Yep.
tried to drink as much water as I could, but also didn't want to have to pee during
Yeah.
cuddles.
Yeah.
So I was like, fine line, trying to
No
just go
water.
water at night time, but then
Balance.
needing to pee during the
Overnight.
night. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it was challenging, but all worth it, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then how long was he on CPAP for?
I don't exactly know how many weeks. I feel like it was like a month.
It was a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did really good. He hated CPAP though. Like he was so motivated to get to high flow.
He was.
Oh, I understand it. Like his head
Yeah.
was like constantly squished.
He's
I
like,
remember
get this hat off
there were
me.
so many times we were sitting there giving him head massages, like just trying to like, sorry
Literally.
George, like yeah, trying to like
It's gonna go
so just poor little head. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, which I think happens with all the NICU babies, they get to that really chubby stage. From like the steroids and everything that they've been on. So he
Yep.
was like so chubby and he was all
Yes.
squished up.
And he had rolls and rolls and rolls.
yeah, the poor thing. And he just couldn't see. Like
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
squashed.
And
Yeah.
for
like weeks he was on the ventilator with nothing on his head, and he
Exactly.
was like free.
Yeah,
and then
but
go
he
to
was cheeky on the
CPAP.
ventilator because he was just constantly trying to pull it out. Like,
Yep.
you know what they do.
We had to do the extra taping on the
Oh,
nose.
he were like, yeah, he looked really cute, but
Yeah, he did.
yeah, cheeky boy.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was on CPAP for like a month, and then he went to high flow. Yeah, which was so exciting. We actually, while he was on CPAP, which I don't think it's as commonly done, but we got to do our first breastfeed
That's
Wow,
so cool.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's
Super
so
hard.
cool.
with him in all his
Yeah.
headgear,
Like,
trying to
it
get
would've
him to
been
learn to breastfeed.
logistically challenging.
It was hard, but like honestly, just amazing. I
Yep.
was like, I've been working so hard to
Mhm.
try to get him something. So it
Yes.
was nice to be able to,
Yeah. And all
How
that
did he
effort
go?
you put
Did
in.
he?
pretty good.
Yeah,
Like
good.
he was kind of like he latched on. I think the second day that we tried.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if he got anything, but like
Yeah.
he got the gist
He
of
wanted
it,
to do it.
which is
Yep.
amazing because he was like, just over 30 weeks or something.
Mm.
So
Wow.
Mhm.
that's
That's
incredible.
amazing.
Yeah,
It's all that ISOC care that you were doing. He
Yeah.
like learned. He's
Mm.
like, this is
yeah.
breast milk. I need to suckle.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
this.
Mm.
which is just like so amazing, and that's just all the little things again that go into NICU and
Mhm.
what you guys do. It's just amazing.
And you and Damo too, like you should be so proud of yourself. You were so vigilant on that
Mm.
ISOC cares. Every
Mm.
cares
It's
you
the
would
best.
do
It's
it.
such a good thing to do.
Yeah,
I love
and
it.
it obviously
Yep.
helped him. Like, look
Yep.
how early he breastfed. Like, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That
Yeah.
doesn't usually happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's what NICU is about, is that you learn that patience because
Mhm.
eventually the hard
Mhm.
work will pay off like
Yeah.
anything, but in a different way because you're kind of like your baby has to learn all these things outside the womb and it's such
Mhm.
a different experience to what they're meant to have.
Yes.
So it was so nice to see that
Yep.
and
Mhm.
go, oh, like,
Yep. And all that
Yeah.
effort of expressing every
Yeah,
2 to
it's like
3
a full-time
hours.
job.
Keeping
Yeah.
your
Not
keeping
miss
your
doing
milk
that
supply
part.
up.
Yeah.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was hard, and like I wasn't able to have a very big supply. I thankfully had done so much expressing at the beginning
Mhm.
that I
Yes.
had a good store in the freezers because I was like I needed initially I was thinking I needed it for both of them, so I was
Yeah.
trying to get as much as I could.
Yep.
So we had a good supply for George through his
Yeah.
whole NICU journey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so
It's
it was
amazing.
like yeah.
Yep.
It was good that I was able to do that. I am proud of myself for it, but
You
Yeah.
should be.
Yep.
yeah.
And then
Proud.
tell us about what it felt like going from NICU to special care. And was it scary? Was
Mm.
it, like tell us about how you felt about moving to special care and what
Yeah.
that looked like for you guys.
And how old was he at this
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
Because all you've known
Yeah.
is the
NICU.
NICU and
Yeah.
what happens in the
And
NICU.
you would have gotten to know a lot
Yeah.
of the people in the NICU as well, especially
It was
after
like
you
my
went through.
home.
Mm.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
at the NICU every day,
For
and
weeks.
I had built really good like friendships and relationships with the people in there, and they knew our story, which was
Mhm.
just so helpful. And
Yep.
like people would come in and check on me as well, which was really
Yep.
helpful as a mum in
Yes.
NICU.
Yes.
So yeah, I think he was. I should have read over my notes before I came in, but
Mhm.
can't remember his exact gestation that he was.
I remember, was it the
I feel like-
100-day?
Yeah, he
thing
was.
that
It was
we
just.
did in
It was like a
NICU?
week after that we
Yeah.
did that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yep.
So Kirsty had done up this beautiful 100-day, like poster with the photos,
Mhm.
and we had lots of little cards along the way every time that he
Mhm.
hit like 1 kilo or 30
Yes.
weeks and stuff.
Yes.
Meg also started a bit of a trend there.
All the milestones.
There is like so many things I could say that help with the NICU journey, but I digress. I'll keep going on with what I was saying. So yeah, we ended up going to special care after his like 100 days,
Yeah.
and he had like a little graduation cap from Meg
Yes.
from him graduating.
Meg
from
always does it.
NICU.
Meg is so
Yeah.
good at doing that.
He did. He graduated from NICU, and that's a great,
Those
great
things though,
experience.
I think don't minimize how special they are,
Yeah.
Mm.
because those little things that you guys do, like it's just they're little celebrations for us, but they're huge. Like
Yeah.
they're huge
Yeah.
as mums, they're huge for them, and they can look back at that one day and like that's their first graduation hat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
And
it
that
was
is a big graduation too. Graduating from NICU to special care, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That
Yeah.
means no more like respiratory support. He was breathing all by
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah, yeah. And so that it was like so exciting but so scary. I like obviously both places are amazing, but I had just gotten so comfortable with NICU.
And the staff
And
in NICU. And
I knew everyone. I knew how
Yeah.
everything was done. And special care is quite different.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because they don't require as much care.
Yeah.
But to me, I was like, George needs all the care in the world.
Yeah.
Like, he's my baby.
Where is the nurse all the time?
I need help. Yeah. But no, it's definitely important as well, because it allows the parents to start to understand how they can become more competent and confident in taking care of their baby.
Yes.
Yeah. So, it was definitely really hard at the beginning. Like, I really, really struggled in special care.
Yeah.
And in other NICU mums I've spoken to, I know that it's a big adjustment for them as well, because it is just different. There is a lot more autonomy, and there's just not so much care.
And we're so regimented in NICU. It's like, okay, they can have 10 mils an hour, and that's all they can have. And we have to monitor their output and see how much wee they've done. And, you
Weigh
know,
the
like
nappies,
it's weigh the nappies.
And,
and, you know, like everything's just so strict.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Whereas
and I was breastfeeding, so I had no idea what I was doing.
Exactly.
I didn't know if I was doing enough for him.
Yeah.
And, like,
and you're
I
going
was
based on his cues
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I tried again. I was always there.
Yeah.
Damien had to go back to work, you know, after about a month of the twins being born. So it was hard for him being away as well. But then it also meant that there was a fair bit of time that I was on my own. So,
But like you said, you had us, and you know, like you had really good friendships
Exactly.
with us, so that would
Exactly. It made a world of a difference.
Yep.
And I have spoken about it before, but I cannot speak more highly of NICU and special care, but like, because my journey was mostly NICU. Yeah, just the most incredible people and the most incredible care. Yeah. Like, I honestly could not have done it without you guys, like, and the other staff that's there. Yeah. So I think that's where I found it quite hard. I got visits from the NICU.
Sometimes on that camera, it'd be like, we have taken George hostage.
Yeah. So actually, that's another thing, is like the angel eye cameras had come out. So they were really helpful as well. We sometimes would get little notes from the nurses saying like, hello. And I'd read it at home.
To visit.
Yeah. So that was always really nice. I'm just like, oh, like the people are thinking of, you know, George. And
and we genuinely care about you guys. You know, like we were really invested in your journey and how you went and how George went. And
and it meant so much to us, and still does. And so we had their due date in special care, which I met some lovely nurses in there as well, and they made a nice sign saying like, happy due date, Jude and George.
That's
I
beautiful.
love that.
And what was their birth date and what was their due date?
Their birth date was the 22nd of November 2023.
Yeah.
And they were due on the 21st of March 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had their due date there, and again, a very bittersweet milestone.
Yes.
Everything I go through still is so bittersweet.
Sweet. Yes.
It's like the most heartbreak, but also the most amount of joy. And hope and trust and love. Like, just such a perfect example that two things can coexist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we were in special care up until Easter.
Yeah.
We had Easter in special care, and just kept cruising through. George was doing better.
Yep.
He still needed a couple of things here and there, blood transfusions and whatnot, but he was having baths and breastfeeding, and he was still tiny. Like, he was only just over a kilo, I think he was 1.5 kilos.
Yep.
And was he on subnasal?
Yeah.
From NICU to special care?
Yes. Yeah. And then he was doing good, but they were like, we think that George is going to go home a lot sooner because we don't think he's going to come off oxygen. So we're like, okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will learn how to manage oxygen. Yeah.
You were ready for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had all the testing done, and turned out that he was able to go home, but he had to go home on half a litre of oxygen.
Which is a lot.
Yeah. So I was like, I can't do that. Which is pretty much what I said my whole NICU journey. I can't do this.
Right,
I can't
like,
do
look
that.
What you've already done.
You've already done it.
And then you kind of just build that resilience, and you become a version of yourself that you never thought you would be.
Yep.
And like, if I was to meet any future NICU mums who would say that, I'm like, you absolutely can do it, because look at your baby.
Yes. Look what they're doing.
Yeah, look what your babies are doing.
Yep.
Like, that's why we show up. That's why we don't give up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. So we ended up being able to go home on oxygen. Yeah.
Very nice. Can you tell us about the day that you were told that you get to go home
Oh
and
my gosh.
what type of things that, they put in place before going home, things like that?
Yeah. So there was so much. Like before we were able to go home, it was in March. I was actually planning Jude's funeral, so there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
We had his funeral on the 25th of March, which was so much later than we would have liked because he passed in December. But we just didn't have an opportunity to do it when George was so sick.
Yes.
So we had that. So it had been really hard. But then to come like a month later and they go like, George is going to be able to go home.
Yeah.
It was amazing. But there was so much paperwork because we had to get approval for funding for like the oxygen to be delivered to our home and all the like support that we needed for that. So super exciting, but like completely overwhelmed.
Yes.
I going home with a newborn baby and being a new mum like is already daunting in itself because I don't know what I'm doing.
And not only that, like you're used to the monitors telling you everything, and to take your baby home just on oxygen and no monitors, that's scary.
I remember the day that they took off his leads and he was just on oxygen monitoring, so we couldn't see like his heart rate. We were all constantly watching it to make sure he wasn't having like braddies. And they were like, you need to start to learn to monitor him.
Look at him.
And that was really hard. I got very used to looking at a screen. So they were good at preparing, and that's really important because you want to feel confident going home. I don't think anything makes you feel completely confident. So looking back on it now, I was actually terrified.
And that's completely
but so grateful. So grateful that he was going to be coming home. Like just everyone can come see him. There's not so many rules.
Yes, you can be.
Don't get me wrong. Everyone had to hand sanitize anytime they were in there. So there was still some rules, but
But like you could just be having a cup of tea, watching some
Yeah.
TV with your baby. You know,
Yeah.
just the normal things that you'd be doing
Yeah.
every day.
George got
at
to
home.
finally watch the Eras tour on TV.
Yeah, he watched it at home with me. It was amazing.
I'm sure he would have already known about it, like from the stories
Yeah.
he told. Like,
Pretty sure Meg was like in there, like brainwashing him.
Yeah, when it was nighttime, it was Taylor Swift playing all the time.
I know. That's why he loves it naturally. So there was so many things that were exciting to be grateful for and stuff. But the first night when you're in special care before you go home, you stay in one of the rooms. I don't know if they're called anything.
They're
Boarding
boarding
rooms.
Yeah,
room.
boarding rooms.
Yep.
And you showed us the boarding rooms.
Yeah.
And so you stay in there with your baby without anyone else. And oh my gosh, I was so scared. And like, it was amazing. But I just was just,
It's a
all
lot.
up,
it was new.
It's all up to you now.
It was-
like, you didn't
I was
have
just
us,
scared.
It was all up to you and Dad.
Yeah. And I know that we had it and I know that he was okay. But I think it was just a big adjustment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And then tell us about the day of going home.
It was really emotional.
Yeah.
We got him dressed
Yeah.
and had our pram for the first time that we got to use.
Yep.
And I think we said goodbye to everyone in special care. There wasn't as many people that we knew very well in there, but we went to NICU and everyone was so happy.
Yep.
Which I imagine it would always feel like that as nurses and
Absolutely.
doctors to watch a baby that has fought for so long go home.
Has to be the most rewarding part of this job.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely. And he had such a long journey. And honestly, the odds against the twins was like, it was pretty much like there is no hope.
Yeah,
Yes.
especially, you were saying from the surgery, the twin to twin surgery, you said the percentage was so low
So low,
already from then.
And
So-
even in terms of like NICU, like 22 weekers is not a common practice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they were really young. It was really scary. So to see him go home and to have some of the NICU nurses come over and give him a cuddle and get photos, like it was so beautiful. It was so nice. Very special moment.
Yeah.
And also very emotional.
Yeah.
It was really tough walking out of there without our other boy,
Yes.
without Jude.
Yes.
But again, really grateful for George.
Then tell us about what it was like for his therapy and everything afterwards. So,
Yeah.
like, what kind of therapy did you get him? What kind of assessments was being done? What were the results of those assessments? And then has anything changed recently?
Yeah. Do you want to know everything since he come home?
Yeah,
Okay.
we do.
So much. There was so many appointments in that first, since he'd been discharged. So George actually did have to go back into hospital because he had to get a hernia repair.
Yeah.
So he went back in for surgery, and then he was in there for like a couple of days.
Yep.
He ended up back in NICU because they had to intubate him, which
Yeah.
was like
Very triggering.
yeah, super triggering. But again, in really good hands. He did beautifully. It was like so sad to see him in his little hospital gown, but he did amazing. And his surgery went really well. He'll have follow-ups this year when he turns 2. And there was just so many appointments after discharge. So it was like continued monitoring of his eyes, his heart,
Oxygen.
yeah, oxygen, and then his assessments and stuff. So through Child Development Services, we ended up doing some assessments because he'd had that brain bleed as well. They just wanted to see how he was scoring. So in his first few assessments, he has them every 3 months.
Yeah.
He was scoring like below the threshold, so higher risk of developing cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
And it was really hard the first time we heard that. But again, we were very much like, we were prepared for possibly
Anything.
bad news and we'll take it as it comes.
Yep.
And but in George's most recent one that he had in December, he scored above the threshold.
Wow.
Yay! Congratulations,
Yeah.
George.
It's
Yep.
incredible.
And you were
Yeah.
saying before
Amazing.
this, before we got on camera, he's saying mum or
Yes,
ma.
he said
How?
saying ma
Oh
yesterday
my goodness.
and dada for everything. But ma sometimes, which I'm very proud of. And he's crawling. He's
Wow.
trying to stand
Yep.
independently so he
Yep.
can stand up against stuff.
Yeah.
I think he'll be walking soon.
That's
Yeah, wow.
amazing.
Which is incredible because we really honestly thought he was
Didn't know if that
not
would
going to
happen.
even be able
Yeah.
to do any of
Yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
what's his corrected age right now?
Corrected, he's 11 months.
Yep.
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 So he's almost 1.
Oh my
corrected.
goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing,
He's thriving.
Maddie.
He's the happiest little boy. And
Yeah.
he's so resilient. Like, honestly, he really doesn't get that upset about
Yep.
much unless
Mhm.
he's like super hungry.
He's
He's
had
like, I'm
so
used to
much done
fighting a
to him.
ventilator. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
I will fight anyone. Yeah.
And so then, how are his eyes?
His eyes are good. He's been discharged.
Amazing.
Yep. He was discharged for his heart.
Yeah.
His heart
Wow.
has been looking really good. And he'll have a
Incredible.
review of that when he's 2 as well.
Mhm.
Oxygen?
Oxygen is gone.
Yeah.
How incredible.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think about a month and a half ago. Yeah. Fully went
Yeah.
off.
That's amazing. So no more even at
Incredible.
night time.
No
He
more at
doesn't need
night
it anymore.
time.
Wow.
He was in his sleep study that he had done.
Yep.
They said that he needed it overnight because he has still some sleep apnea.
Mhm.
And now he's gone.
He's off.
Completely cleared.
It's cleared. His cheeks look amazing.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah,
No
they
more
used to be
tapes.
so red and like they've
Yep.
healed up beautifully.
That's
He is
amazing. That's
gorgeous.
so good to hear.
Gorgeous George.
Yes,
Yeah.
gorgeous
And-
George.
And then what about his ears?
Yeah, his ears were good. Like he got discharged, but we went for a review recently, and one of them didn't pass on like the lower pitch,
Okay.
like the quieter pitch.
Yep.
So we'll have a review of that soon. But
Yep.
they do think it might be because he has been a little bit sick.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll wait and see. But otherwise,
Yep.
he's very responsive. He's got functional hearing, even if
Yeah.
there is anything there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's the
And-
best little boy.
Yeah, and we're doing therapy every week still.
It's amazing.
Yep. So he on
Yep.
off does physio one week and then OT the other week, and
Yeah.
they're
Perfect.
awesome. Yeah.
And your sister, she does some OT with him as well.
Well, she is an OT. She
Yeah.
does try not to overstep,
Yeah.
as you would say. She is very good to have there to help guide me if
Yeah.
I do have any questions or I'm
Yeah.
unsure
Yeah.
about stuff, or like even just guiding me on how to talk about it to the therapist if I do want to
Yep.
bring something up. So
Yep.
yeah, and Georgie does wear a leg wrap every night, which he hates. And that's just because he's got a little bit of tension on one side of his leg. So we're just
Yep.
trying to manage that at the moment.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's easy done. It's much
That's
better than managing
amazing.
oxygen.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, so by the time it's like mid-March, I think,
Mhm.
will be like his 3-month mark off oxygen. So if
That's
he's still, he will be doing
amazing.
fine.
Mhm.
Once we get to that point, we can get rid of all of our tanks in our house because
That's
they're just
amazing.
everywhere.
I bet you will be very glad to
I
get rid
know.
of
That's
those.
a
Like this one
huge
corner of the house, I'm like,
milestone.
that would look beautiful without tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then tell us about his feeding. So you exclusively breastfed him, is that right? And then
Yeah.
how did it go getting him on solids, and what did that look like for you?
Yeah. So he was doing really good with the breastfeeding, but I just didn't have enough supply for him.
Yep.
He wasn't like putting on weight, and he was not happy because he
Yep.
wasn't getting enough. So we ended up doing breastfeed with formula.
Yep.
And then it just ended up having to be formula because I
Yep.
wasn't able to give him enough.
Yep.
We used up as much as we could have. We used up all my like frozen milk.
Amazing.
And
That's so
tried my
good.
best. So
Yep.
he would have been on breast milk his whole journey through NICU, and then
Yep.
probably like 2 months post.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then he went to fully formula feeding.
Yep.
And when he went to solids, I was like pretty scared because, as you are, as
Yeah,
you
that's
get
right.
scared.
Yeah.
But no, he did really good. He was on purees for a while, but now he's like gobble guts, and
Oh.
So
he loves
good.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's really keen on it, and he wants
loves it. Yeah,
and-
yeah.
Yep.
We will be seeing a speech therapist soon, just because there's been sometimes has difficulty with swallowing.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna get them to have a look at that, just to see that it's all developing okay. But otherwise, he's a chunky monkey.
Oh
He
my
is.
goodness.
Can't wait to see
I
him.
know. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so glad he's coming today.
Yeah. Oh, you're happy
Yep.
to see you guys.
Yep.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
if he's had his food, he'll be happy.
Nap and food, he'll be happy.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Aw.
he's done really well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he is.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so
Not
much
only
for
he is
coming
amazing,
on.
you and
Yeah.
Damo are so amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We I feel like there's never enough time to encapsulate everything, but
Mhm.
we're just so eternally grateful to NICU
Yeah.
and everything that was done for our boys. And even though we wish the outcome was different, we're just so grateful that we have the twins' story to share, and we
Yep.
hope that we're able to help guide other mums and dads and families with their preemie babies as well.
Yep.
Yeah. But
I
thank you all for what you do.
It's honestly our pleasure. We love doing what we do, don't we? Like
Love
it's
it.
We do.
the greatest
Yeah.
pleasure in the whole world to do our job.
Yeah.
And some of my best days at work were when I got to look
Mhm.
after George and hang out with you.
We got more to come.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
thank
thank you
you.
so much for coming on, Maddie. We really love it.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening. Please remember, if this podcast has brought up difficult feelings, please see the resources in our descriptions below for support.